A couple hours ago, I hopped onto this live by these LDS content creators where they were discussing the fact that it has never ever been taught in the church that we can become gods and populate our own worlds. However, some people spoke up saying they were still active LDS and they distinctly remember growing up in the church being taught that this was a doctrine. And as a response, the majority of these people claimed that if anyone has heard any such thing in the church, it was probably just some bad teacher, some weird seminary teacher with some weird theories, but it's never actually been taught at the pulpit or in manuals. And it's not found in scripture. The people who knew that they were taught this in church were trying to think of a source of where they were taught this from, thinking maybe it was in the book of Abraham or trying to remember who said it. And the majority of these LDS creators said, okay, well, if you have a source, show me a source. Let's talk about the source. Because without an actual source of where it's been written or taught, it's just hearsay. So while all of this was going on, I hopped on my Google machine and I found all of the sources. I requested to join the live and I commented several times in the comments that I had the sources and I would like to talk about them, but I was never allowed to join. They probably don't like me very much since the last time I got on their live, I told them that the book of Moses says that Cain was the first master mason because he covenanted with Satan to kill Abel, and that all of the Masonic symbolism in the temple is actually satanic. But that's besides the point. Let's move on to the sources proving that, in fact, it was a doctrine taught that we could inherit our own worlds and populate them. Starting with our very own Brigham Young. However, this wasn't one of those doctrines that Brigham Young taught, like Adam God theory or blood atonement, where the church very quickly got rid of those and stopped teaching them. This doctrine was actually held on to, repeated, and retaught all the way up until the early 2000s. So here we have Spencer W. Kimball teaching this doctrine, and he was actually requoted and published in 3 different LDS manuals. We can actually go to these links and see that the church removed him from their website. That's okay, we'll just go to this second source, scroll all the way down to the archived manuals, find the Doctrine and Covenants and Church History manual that we're looking for, and see that it was also removed. But if we scroll down a little more, we'll find several more quotes. You can pause and read. And here's one from Joseph F. Smith, also in 1976. It was a talk called Adam's Role in Bringing Us Mortality, and it was actually reprinted in the Liahona in 2006. So we can go to that Liahona, find his talk, and there you have it. We are taught that we are to have the opportunity of building worlds and peopling them. So in the most recent years, when the church has made statements like this, that there are no instances, 0, where it is taught that we will be gods of our own planets, this is what we would call gaslighting. Now, I won't get into speculating as to why I think the church is backpedaling this doctrine and gaslighting us, but I will say that they're taking advantage of the ignorance of the youth because as of 2006, it has not been taught. So if you were too young then to remember, you might genuinely think that it has never been taught in the church because you didn't hear it. As for me, I was 12 years old in 2006, the last time that this was publicly spoken about in the church, and I remember having this Liahona talking about it in my home and in my church. So for you LDS folk who were confidently defending the church's current stance that this has never been taught, I'm giving you a little bit of grace because maybe you're on the younger side and maybe you genuinely have never heard this in church because you were too young in 2006. So I wouldn't say that you are gaslighting people like me and others who remember it being taught, but I hope you now realize that you are being gaslit.